I'm good. We
Okay,
can
you're
just
good.
talk about whatever.
Yeah, the like back then I made the freaking just 6 years. Actually, let me just look it up. March. So yes, it's been 6 years. Jesus, it doesn't feel like 6 years. My subscriber count sure isn't that of someone who's been active for 6 years. Ugh.
Oh, mine doesn't look like I started in 2011 or 2007 even. So,
You know,
hmm?
I don't want to direct to the viewers. Want to glare at the fourth wall for a second here. This video is going to be just like the other one. Is going to be a lot about death and about the uncomfortable things surrounding it. But unlike that one, where I'm sad about Total Biscuit dying and what that means for me as a person. This one is I would say strangely macabre because it's about my fascination of people's profiles of people that are dead, where you can see the messages of people who are like, "I'm so sad that you're gone." So if that doesn't entertain you, please leave. There's nothing in this video otherwise, unless you really just like people rambling. So let's get to it. Let's not delay the inevitable. Um, so yes, I like. I don't know why. There's something bittersweet about seeing people profess this deep love and affection for each other, and just being like, "I'll always remember you," and it's there forever for everyone to see. Their final moments, the final upload, a poem they made, beautiful. Something, something about it just makes me yearn for my own death. I don't know what it is. It's a weird feeling. It's envy, because I have envy for everything. Ugh. I wish I could die. Like, isn't that just the weirdest feeling? Like I'm sitting there looking at this and I'm like, man, this is beautiful. This is why people are like making beautiful poetry about deaths, because of moments like this that are just so bittersweet. And I'm sitting here going, man, I wish I could die like that. Like an asshole.
Yeah.
I feel like an asshole, man, for just saying that. I'm not gonna specify who it is because I don't, I do believe in some sanctity, but that was, I don't know, something about it actually made me feel better. It's really freaking weird. It's so weird to sit here and go, I feel better now. I don't know why. But seeing those beautiful words and seeing people years later still come back, something about it. I don't know. I don't know. What about you, Komo?
Well, I sort of kind of have a weird view on the whole death thing as well. Um, Had to deal with that very early in my life. A very close family member has died from cancer, and I've watched them wither away and die, and that kind of leaves a mark. And so I kind of hate the very concept of it. It's like, we are a part of a cycle that we didn't create and that we have no control over whatsoever. And so it's kind of like, most of the time I'm having the rage against the dying of the light kind of moment. But on the other hand, it's not something that I have control over, which is why there's no point in like worrying about it.
I guess.
It's gonna happen whether I want it or not, so why should I bother?
This is kind of stupid, but I'm standing in front of an activatable, and every time I push it, the screen slightly goes whoop. Like very so slightly. But yes, I agree on that. I've lost exactly, I guess by now, 3, if we count Total Biscuit, and 4 if we want to stretch it for that one person that I mentioned, an artist that I like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it comes down to my grandfather, who I was not in as strong a relationship with. Like at the time, he had cancer for a while. I didn't see him a lot, so when he went away, I was mostly crying because other people were crying. In that kind of state, he wasn't a bad grandfather. Let me just get that out of the way. Like, the people that genuinely care and love for him, but for me, he was a guy that lived in another country that I did not see for long periods of time. And the other person I lost was my dog, who was close to me. And just thinking about it makes me well up a bit. Ooh.
Yeah. It does it to you.
You do. You know, the funny thing is, at my grandfather's funeral, which for some reason makes me less teary. At my grandfather's funeral, I tried to convince myself. I was constantly with this mental gymnastics stuff. The only reason I'm crying... Oh, cool. I found a statue. I convinced myself that the only reason I was crying was because everyone else was crying. I didn't care about him. I didn't miss him. Because I didn't see him enough that he was an integral part of my life. And that's what I told myself, is I don't miss him in the way that people generally miss the dead. That felt weird. Because then I lost my dog, and like, this is the exact same feeling. And it was weird. Just so weird. And then, Total Biscuit, of course. Passed away a week or so ago. Goddamn. And there's a lot of stuff happened this week anyway, so I'm in a pretty bad mental state right now. I'm pretty vulnerable to things, as I should say.
Well, I would suggest you not to play the, you know, the artsy type of games about loss and such.
I played that stupid pod game, which is an artsy game. And the ending is so sad. Although, I guess you could interpret the ending as being hopeful. Depends on how bitter a person you are. I guess the reason I'm not so sad about my grandfather is, compared to Total Biscuit, who I'm still crying about like a week later, is there wasn't really nothing of with my like, goddamn, like, he was in such a weird space now that I think about it. There's a lot of history there that just makes me go, he did have a nice house. He did have a really nice house. He had probably the biggest house I've ever been in. What a house that was. He had a swimming pool in the back, and like a small little thing you could go on. And there were dogs buried in that yard, man. There was like a little graveyard spot behind a little toy house. That was, damn. Now that I think about it, that place is haunted, presumably. Ugh.
By what? By dogs?
By dogs, yes. Which is the good kind of haunting, because dogs generally don't haunt in spooky ways if they're buried properly. They're the good kind of haunting. Where you feel little licks on your face at night. My dog got cremated, though, so they're not going to be haunting anyone. I like to imagine if you're cremated, you can't, because there's no body to be angry. Although I guess TB's cremated too. I like that he wanted to be stuck inside of a champion cup that he has. I love it when people. I love silly. Yeah, he won this StarCraft thing or something in like 2013, and he said, "Put my ashes in that." And I'm like, wow, that's a place to put yourself. I mean, it beats building a growth ray and then making a jacuzzi out of it and sitting in that.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I don't know. To me, death is about the...
To be perfectly honest, I probably am also envious because, well, this is a good way to die. You know, you don't die just... You don't just die. You're remembered and, you know, at least for some time. You know, that kind of stuff.
It's interesting. How with death, not only the person dies, but everyone they carried with them. That's a scary thought. Because no one fucking tells anyone about, oh man, I remember this great guy that I met at some point in my life, and then they're going to be carried that memory. No, they're not gonna. You die with whoever you made friends with in life.
There's that new Pixar cartoon that covers that topic.
The one with the... Yeah, it was based on the
Coco. Yeah.
I really like that idea. That's a very interesting idea. Although I also kind of, now that I've been thinking about it, I really like the idea of you get New Game Plus. There's just New Game Plus for your life. You get all the memories you had, like everything you know, you get to keep with you. And it's just like, here, go fucking sort yourself out. It's life's biggest fuck you is do it again. Do it better.
Oh, you wish.
I like that. I just like the idea. I know it's probably not going to be that way because the universe is as fucking stale and boring as everything else. People are like, but the magic is in the details. I'm like, no, you're just saying that because there's nothing else that's interesting to talk about. You're just saying that it's interesting at parties.
There is one problem with that, though.
Which is?
What if this is your do it better run?
The problem is that I should remember... Goddamn, there's actually a very good argument to be made that you were already doing that, but you died as an infant and never got to bring any memories with you. That's a terrible way to go. And that's also the problem with that philosophy, is that if you died as a fetus, what the fuck happens now? Because you can't really do anything. That's macabre humor, as I said. But yeah, if this is already my replay, I'm failing drastically at it. I'd like to think that I'm doing better, but I don't have the memory, so that theory kind of goes in the wash, because the requirement of New Game Plus is that you have something that makes you, you know, because New Game Plus is generally you carry something with you.
Not like unfinished business.
It's like your New Game Plus objective is kill your arch rival before he even becomes your arch rival, and everyone's just like, why? And you're like, you would never know. And you get to be all cool. Well, I don't know, man. I like the idea of, like, of something. Just something with it. Like, you get to come back, and you get to live life again. Maybe you'll die the same way. Maybe, like, that's, like, written in stone. Whatever you do, you're gonna get cancer. Even if you invent a cure and bring it back, you're still gonna die from it. Like that kind of stuff. Although, if you come back and you bring, like, the whole collection of medical knowledge, you could do a lot. But I just like the idea. It's just this shallow idea. If you don't go away, you just get another shot, and that's how your afterlife is determined. Because it's kind of nasty if you, like, grow up in a terrible place and you're kind of forced to be terrible by the circumstances around you. Instead of having, like,
that depends on the difficulty level that you pick up when you get born.
I mean, you're the one that won. I don't know. Maybe you get something extra. Maybe you get, like I said, pity points. Maybe you get pity points in your second life. Like, if you really had a shitty life, it's like, okay, you get an extra 20 years on your life expectancy, and you grow up in a family. Like, your family doesn't fuck up as much. But for the rest, you keep much of your life. Actually, that would change things too much, because that's also part of it. It's not really New Game Plus if, like, everything is different. Ugh. I'm trying to figure out the logistics of New Game Plus in my life, the video game. This is why there's no afterlife. It's because it's way too complex. Maybe you get, like, special powers. That's what you get. Now you're psychic.
Oh. Yeah. I wish that it worked like that.
It'd be neat.
Unfortunately, it seems like in the current version of the game, we are locked out of, actually editing the character, and we just create random ones. You can lock out and get born into, like, middle-class white family with a dog and a porch, the nuclear type. Or you could get born, with a couple extra chromosomes and, spend the rest of your life just drooling at the ceiling.
Depending what your previous life was, that might be an upgrade. But yeah, I think back something about that profile just makes something click in my head. I don't know what it is. Like, on one end, I wish I never saw that. But on the other end, I'm like, this is a shaping experience for me as a person.
Yeah.
What a weird feeling. This feels like it's going to be an essential of who I am and who I'm going to be for years to come. Which I say, but I don't believe it. I've said lots of things.
I usually don't believe that either. Yeah, because it's going to change. It's most likely going to change.
Always changes.
But again, all of this is mostly wishful thinking. This is why people turn to religion,
Because it brings an answer to a difficult question.
Yeah,
to which the obvious answer is just not pleasant.
You're still in the clear.
Yeah.
No detection from enemy sensors.
I really like
everything. It's very likely that everything that makes you you is in your head, is in your brain, and once your brain is dead, then you're gone, just forever.
Now, the enemy will start destroying data.
That's kind of shitty, but then you spend half of eternity not existing. And you'll spend the rest of eternity not existing too, so, why really bother? The only thing that I really want is to leave something after I'm gone.
Fair enough.
Maybe it's gonna be my shitty YouTube channel.
I don't know, man. I'd love to.
Maybe it's gonna be my shitty art,
what
but,
I just stumbled across a room I've never seen before. Because I went another direction when never mind, I'm in a spy room, so...
Yep.
But yeah, leaving something behind is just a human desire. Like, I want to leave something behind. I want to have some impact, something that endures.
Well, I mean...
That's why great men do great things.
Yeah. I mean, you can be a dude who lived in the freaking barrel and be remembered like thousands of years after your death.
Get to extraction.
Or maybe you invented a cure for something, or maybe you were just a giant gigolo or something else.
So what would you do if you got new game? If you got like Reincarnation 2.0, you get a new game plus boon to take with you in your next game. What would it be? What would it be? What do you think?
Find the people that I cared about during my first life and make their lives less shitty. Because good
You want something
lord, everyone
retroactive?
has a life shitty.
You want a retroactive reward? You want one that affects the? Wow, that'd be a weird one.
I mean, I cannot afford to help everyone. So at the very least, I can afford to help people that I already knew.
So you go to the reincarnation appeals board, and you're like, hey, listen, I don't care what you do next time. Just make sure the people that I left behind are okay.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people actually say make that kind of claim, and then they're like, oh, god damn, another one of these. I just
Probably a
like
whole
the
lot of it,
logistics behind the
because-
afterlife that have to come with it if there is one.
Well, I mean, 99.99% of all people who have ever lived are dead now. I'm pretty sure none of us are special in any particular way.
Nope.
I mean, if you roll a lottery 7 billion times, you're gonna get some similar results eventually. Plus, you know, what measure is a human? Do, like, Neanderthals go into heaven or something, or hell?
I mean, what's the turning point of? That's a good question.
Yeah. Like, what is it? What measure is a human?
I think the whole concept is you're supposed to have a soul, and whatever a soul is, and the soul is defined as the ability to experience the way we experience things. It's like you're here, you're sitting, you're looking at things, and you're like sapiens, I guess. I don't know.
Well, what measure is sapiens again? It's like the same thing that we look for aliens, you know, but we're looking for alien life as we know it, so, you know, biological and, you know, carbon-based. What if it's literally sentient rocks? What then?
Eliminate all corpus.
I think it's more the fact that they're looking at like a specific band of frequencies.
An interesting place. I appreciate you doing this task for me.
That's more obstructive than anything.
There's a sanctuary target here, Hunter.
But once again, it's easier to look for life that we know already exists. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
If you look just for, what are you gonna look if not for that? For literally everything?
I don't know.
And then there's a whole bunch of, you know, these weird theories about stuff. You know, the big filter and whatever. Or, it's like every civilization comes to a point where they either destroy themselves in a nuclear war or they keep going on. And we're approaching this thing and it doesn't look good for us. It's like every civilization goes through this filter that filters out like the majority of them because they fuck themselves up because they don't magically become, you know, unified. Sort of, kind of, yeah. They. Or another thing, it's like, yes, life exists out there. It's just that, imagine a galaxy is a bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just our galaxy in terms of scale. You know, here's us, like this little blob. We have existed for like, what, a couple thousand years? As, like, you know, as modern humans. Right?
Yep.
How long will we last? Another 1,000 years? Or maybe not 1,000 years? I don't know.
Keep going.
But
Nobody knows you're here.
what if a different race did the same thing? But they did it like 5 million years ago. Or maybe they will do it 5 million after we are gone. You know? It's like life exists, it's just that we will never meet each other because we're like so
Because
far.
on the grand cosmic timescale, we only exist as a little tiny strip, and it takes a lot of luck for those strips to align.
Yeah. Assuming we are the same kind of life.
I think people underestimate the potential for, like, on one hand, I firmly believe that life is generally going to evolve in a similar fashion because that's how competition works. But I also kind of humor the idea that it's entirely possible that there's just alien life out there that is as foreign to us as computers will be to us. Like AI is like, This life doesn't care about any of what humans care about, and it's just like, why would we deal with you? Because you don't do anything we think is important. It's like alien life is this thing that doesn't think.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is a neat concept that I've been trying to put into my own story. Well, there are aliens, and then there are aliens. Like the question becomes, how do you explain what is left and what is right to add, say, starfish alien that has no concept of left and right, and you have to do it over the radio? How do you explain that?
What are these called again? I think they're called... Oh, God, they're called quells, I think? Goddamn. No, pure mathematical concepts you can explain to some extent. Like, there's people who are specifically working on how to figure this out. But, yeah, at some point you're going to run into the what is red problem.
Yeah. What if they don't perceive color as we do? Or what if they don't have any, like, they don't perceive world visually at all?
What if they only perceive the world as distances according to an object?
Yeah. What if they are two-dimensional or multi-dimensional? We don't know.
I don't know, man. I'd be impressed if something was actually differently dimensional, though. That'd be impressive.
Well, there's a very neat little animated feature, I would say. It's called Flatland.
Oh, yeah.
It was a thing done by Carl Sagan before.
Mm-hmm.
He was explaining what a flatland is and such. And then they made it into a straight-to-DVD movie, which has pretty low quality, and it's very convoluted and very strange to look at, but it's neat enough.
That's what you get when you have a scientist be a director.
Yeah. Well, he's not really a director. It's more like they used a 1920s or something book. Please don't quote me on this, because I just briefly looked through the context for the movie. But basically, yeah, it covers the flatland. There's a person in the flatland who is just flat, and everything around him is flat. And then one day he just gets plucked out and placed into a 3D world. And then he returns back, and then he tries to
Explain it.
explain. Yeah, it's like, hey guys, 3D world exists, and everybody thinks he's an insane idiot, and they try to kill him. And yeah.
I always get the feeling that when people are like, they're gonna kill you, it's like, I mean, we've not killed flat earthers, so I'm pretty sure that most civilizations are just gonna kill people like that.
Well, it's largely implied that they do know that this shit exists. They just try to suppress the knowledge.
Ooh, now that's cool.
And also, the 3D world is not our 3D world. It's not humans. It's just geometrical shapes that are round and such.
Uh-oh.
Silly stuff.
Turned on
What
storage
happened?
sense. Oh, okay. It's because I only
Did you
no, space is running out. I need to clear out the old raw footage.
did you manage to get your Riven unlocked?
No.
I can help you with that, I suppose. It's not very hard. I can give you advice, or I can just run it for you.
So
I can make time. It's not a problem.
we'll do it after the video's over then. I just...
Sure.
I don't know, man. I keep thinking about that profile. I keep thinking about that. There's something about that that appeals to me on some strange fundamental level. It makes me go, and want. Such a terrible person. I feel like I should feel like a terrible person over that.
Over what? The whole envy thing?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so weird that that's all I feel.
It's not really weird. That this is the weird thing. It's people saying, oh, what I feel is wrong. Well, you feel it, which means it's not wrong, unless you're making like some assumption. Like the feelings are valid. They might be like morally wrong, but you know, morality is a fleeting thing. 1,000 years ago, we didn't think that women actually deserved to vote or have any rights or, you know, be anything but property, and now look at them.
They're all over the place like ants.
Yeah.
Someone is going to take that clip out of context. There's going to be a future where I have sufficient popularity that every single bad thing I've said in my moments of like raw non-lucidity are going to be used against me. It's going to be great. Because I don't give a shit.
Great. Yeah. I mean, what are they gonna do? Sue you?
Oh no, I'm getting sued over this thing I said 10 years ago. I stand firmly behind the idea that if there's actually like a legitimate period of time between when something is said, it's like, no, that's a different person now. Because I change a lot in just a freaking year.
Well, I mean, they try to pull shit on people from 20, 30 years ago, so, you know.
I mean, if you actually hurt someone, I can understand the point of, like, holding on to it. But all they did wrong was they said a naughty word on the TV.
It wasn't even a TV, really.
It's not what I mean. That's not the gist of the argument. That's what we call it.
Yeah. I'll be happy to, at the very least, leave something after I'm gone. I mean, I've already left, like, quite a bit of an imprint. People who know me...
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. Of course, because, as usual, you know, it's not as bad as people say, it's not as good as people say either. So, yeah. I have left an imprint, maybe I'll be remembered. Maybe even more for more than one generation. But I don't know.
Depends on how long YouTube stays up.
Yeah. If they don't axe my videos for violating some stupid freaking thing. Well, at the very least, THQ and DipSilver have whitelisted my channel, so as long as some musical company that holds the rights to the soundtrack doesn't axe my stuff, I should be good.
Huh. Whitelisted your channel, huh?
Yeah. I've been working with the community managers and such in the past. From THQ, and then when they switched to DipSilver. Yeah. Basically I said, you know, I'm having problems. My videos are getting claimed. What the hell? And he just said, you know what? We trust you enough. We like your content enough, so we're just gonna whitelist you. And so they did, yeah.
You have broken their ranks and they are on the run.
You know,
Another successful mission.
once I get out of this
Find
slump, I'm
distraction.
just gonna go right back into it because of the fucking Euro law that's gonna be put into place.
Yeah, if it is.
It's gonna
Obvious.
it's gonna happen. There's no reason for them not to care, is the problem. They're not accountable.
Well, it's the same for SOPA and whatever stupid bills that they've had, you know.
SOPA and PIPA are organized by people that need to be voted on.
Mm-hmm.
Your EU
And so
members
is this
are
one.
significantly less liable.
Sensors.
They don't have to worry about not getting voted on. They're not as vulnerable to that kind of situation. I don't even know when I vote on these people to begin with. I don't think I do. Which makes the EU kind of a very weird organization for something that
Wow.
claims to be a forefront of democracy.
I am biased. You probably shouldn't be asking my opinion on this.
I think if anything, you had a better understanding of it.
Well, I mean, I have the better understanding on it because I've been following the events closely and such. I don't necessarily hold the opinion that people will agree with. Because for one, I consider the EU to be EU to be something that has outlived its purpose. To be perfectly honest. And considering the
I want to hear that. Because I kind of agree with the statement.
well, yes, but it's kind of weird. It's an economic alliance against a certain group. Like from that standpoint, it should exist. But for the purpose that it currently exists, it really should. Okay, let me just rephrase that because this was just the word salad. They the EU is supposed to be, this kind of mythical greatest thing ever for the member states. But unfortunately, so far, it has, at least from my point of view, pulled people into its fold and then robbed them blind. They've divided Yugoslavia, and they fucked those countries up through rampant privatization and all that noise. And then they divided and swallowed those states. And now they say, oh, they did it willingly, therefore it's okay. And it's the same about NATO. It was created to oppose USSR, and now USSR is gone, so it has no reason to exist. But it's generating too much money to just ignore, so they invented a new enemy. They poked Russia, and now they have Russia as an enemy, and now NATO has a reason to exist again.
Wow. That puts things in perspective for me, at least. But
yeah, but I mean, if you guys want to listen to me ramble about politics from the other side of the trenches,
I think the problem is that people don't hear those things.
Well, they can hear it in these videos, I suppose. It's like, oh, hey, playing Warframe and shitting on the political establishment.
I think it's important that the establishment is always shat on. Because the moment
it should be questioned, but not shat upon. Just shitting on the establishment because it's the establishment is a bad idea.
I mean, shitting on the establishment from the perspective of the other side. Like, this is how the other side feels about the establishment.
Yes, empathy is needed, but unfortunately, it's often ignored because I can get the people in charge. It's like they're looking out for themselves. They're not, even if they realize that what they're doing is shit, they're not gonna feel bad about it. And the same is about Russia. Russia is a very self-centered state. It does things that further Russian interests, whether you like it or not. The annexation of Crimea, or reunification, if you want to say it like that, of Crimea, is, from the standpoint of Russia, is a reasonable thing to do, but obviously it violates laws. But then again, laws can be interpreted in 10 billion different ways.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. It's whoever you ask is going to have a different opinion. I have a British pal, for example, who absolutely hates Russia for doing these things, and he fully supports the governments involved. Like, for example, he fully supports the government of Georgia that decided to stage a, small victorious war. I'm sorry. To reunify itself with Abkhazia and Ossetia. And they would have succeeded if it wasn't for the meddling Russian army that just crossed the border and kicked their ass. And that's bad. The same British guys totally fine with saying, the Syrian government has shot upon protesters, and then protesters picked up arms, and therefore they are justified in, having this war for, 7 years now.
Jesus.
At the same time, the same person says, when the Ukrainian government shot on protesters, the government was right, and the rebels shouldn't have picked up arms.
All I can hope is that the Dutch government, which is a very soft and cuddly government, or at the very least has a PR department to come across as a very soft and... It's a mess. The Dutch government is a fucking mess when you really think about it. But it's a soft, cuddly mess that doesn't do stupid shit as a result of it.
Yes, and this is both blessing and a curse.
The curse is that it never gets anything done, but the blessing is it never gets anything done.
The Dutch government is as small and insignificant as Netherlands, as the joke goes.
I like it. But the thing is, it's also a government that's like, if the EU actually starts to make a censorship machine, I think it's one of the countries that's gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna ask some questions, maybe.
But we're not gonna openly oppose it because, actually being a part of EU is actually beneficial to us. And that's like,
I don't know how beneficial is to the Netherlands. I mean, yes, with Germany it's nice and all, but because I think we do a lot with Germany, and since Germany basically runs the EU.
yeah, it's. I probably shouldn't say it.
What do you want to say? Just say it. I don't care. No one here.
It's the new Reich, the peaceful one, supposedly.
It's not a very peaceful Reich if it has to start moderating the internet like crazy.
Well, and support wars and such. Bleh.
Yep. It supports wars and says
that's
we
inevitable.
don't like it when people start splitting up countries like this, but we'll do it ourselves just fine.
Yeah. Do as we say, not as we do.
Well, I always had plans to move to America, so that might happen sometime in the future if this keeps up.
Well, yeah, nobody's
America
ever
isn't that
going
great
to
either,
invade. Nobody's ever going to invade the United States. Nobody's ever going to invade Russia. All this talk about, oh, we're amassing troops on the border because, we fear the invasion is bullshit. Nobody's going to invade anything ever. It's not going to be like that. It's too expensive.
Full-scale invasion
It's
is
too
just not
wasteful.
worth it compared to the alternatives.
Yeah. I mean, you can just give money to the opposition in the country, and then the opposition wins the elections.
And then goes, hey, how about we become friends with these people?
Yeah.
I mean, you could conquer a country by blitzkrieging their cities, or you could say, hey, how about we all work together like a team? Go team! By the way, we're the biggest contributor. Just saying, hand-wringing together. Ah, Germany. You like to pretend you're nice, but you're not. Ugh. It's weird. The weirdest part about it is just the whole migration thing. It's like, we gotta let all these migrants in. I'm like, you do know that from an economic perspective, we don't need these migrants, right? Like, if you're an economic union and you're in it for yourself, you want to keep migrants out, right? Like, are
Yeah.
you trying to appear like you're nice because you're pissing a lot of people off?
They're clearly following some sort of
I wonder.
goal. They're following some sort of goal. It's
The
not a
thing
very
is,
nice
the
goal.
migrants they're letting in are like not okay with the EU. Like, these are not migrants that are going to support the EU. It's like if Crimea was like 0 Russians, and there was like, hey, Russians, just come on over. Just all of you, come here. We'll go out.
Yeah. They
No
clearly
problem.
want to do something. I suppose they want voters. That is probably one of the most
They don't need
blatant.
voters. I already said they don't need voters. The EU does not work like that. I might move to Switzerland, actually. That's a better place to move, because then I'll
Then
still
why
be
do
Europe.
they need so many?
Because they're trying to be nice. Because they're trying to show, oh, look at how powerful we are. We can afford all these people. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be the conspiracy theorist today. Then I'm going to say, oh, maybe it's just Soros getting back at the countries he hates.
What?
Do you know who Soros is?
No, not really. I might know his name, but only in like Dutch pronunciation, so.
It's literally just Soros. S-O-R-O-S.
Okay.
It's an old dude who collaborated with Nazis, but, it's okay for some reason. And who is now one of the richest people on the planet, who's funding a bunch of things in Europe and across the world, like opposition figures and such. Russia banned him recently, a few years ago, and he has been very, very mad about it.
Russia did what?
Russia banned him and his funds.
No.
They said anything that is associated with Soros is not allowed to exist in our country.
I get the feeling that I've heard of this name before, but...
Yeah, it's a very old and ugly-looking guy. Not a very stupid one. He's pretty smart, but yeah, he's an asshole.
Well,
But in any case, he has his hand in a lot of people's pockets. He's doing lots of stuff. Like funding opposition figures, like I said, and funding different, charities and whatnot, and funding things. I'm not entirely sure actually if he's funding things like Radio Free Europe.
What's Radio Free Europe?
Radio Free Europe? It's a propaganda radio basically that was created to combat USSR. It still
Oh.
exists, and it's like, basically everything that it posts is basically just posting shit about countries it doesn't like. It's like, oh no, Russia did this and it's horrible. Ugh. And then everybody who is in cahoots with Russia, like for example the members of BRICS, it's like Radio Free Europe shits on China. Radio Free Europe shits on Belarus. It used to shit on Ukraine until it got overthrown. And I say overthrown, but of course it had a peaceful revolution in which 10 to 50,000 people have so far died, apparently, somehow.
Cheapers.
Yeah. But yeah, he funds things like this, and people don't like him. And the fact that Russia is saying no to him is apparently a problem, because obviously, Russia is not banning Soros-supported newspapers and groups, but it's banning like people who fight for freedom and for democracy. Therefore, Russia is a tyrannical, horrible country. It's the same thing. There is a Radio Free Free Asia, which is pretty much the same thing, but it was created by CIA to combat China, communist China, back in the Cold War and stuff.
Very much so. So how about we wrap it up? I'm surprised how this topic went. I really want to do have a legit podcast, but I don't know how to organize it.
You can turn this into a podcast. The games you play, especially the games that don't really require a whole lot of
Thinky think?
Not quite. The games that don't really require you to comment on the process of the game itself. Warframe is probably a very, very boring game to actually watch being played, unless it's some kind of specific builds or just progression through the story and stuff.
Yeah.
But it serves as an interesting enough visual fodder for a conversation.
I think I should look into that, because I really do want to have something where you can just chit-chat and show my mental muscles.
It's fine. But again, I am biased. I'll be the first person to admit that.
Ugh.
So, if any of you guys are trying to take me seriously, or if you're going to even watch this and, type something down in the comments, please consider that
You're biased.
I will be first to admit that I am biased towards a certain point of view, and that despite the fact that I might have a strong opinion about things one way or the other, I have no means of influencing the outcome.
Yeah.
I might agree with something, I might disagree with something, but I'm not actually in the government. I don't have any ties to KGB or MI6 or CIA or whatever.
I already got a fun title to call my podcast, and it's after something very old.
Do
I call
tell.
it the TTO podcast. So, some people may know my Shishi account, or they may know my DeviantArt account, they may know my FA account, on which I, long ago, in the land before time, posted just garbage shit, which was admittedly better than it had any right to be for the age at which I made the stuff. TTO stands for Team Omega, which is based on... Oh god, there's so much history in this for how stupid it is. In Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, you get to name your...
You have to explain 10 years of memes.
The point is, in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, you get to name your team, and I named it, and I wanted to call it Team Omega, but because it already appends team, I wrote down Team Omega. It made it Team Omega, which I ultimately shifted to this terrible team of OCs as like their Team Omega, and it was because one of the main characters that picked them was a fucking idiot. So that's what I want to call it.
Sounds about right.
The TTO podcast, the T-top.
Sure, that sounds interesting enough. I'll be happy to hop on when I'm around.
We should
if I have
do
the
that
time.
sometime. But I need topic lists. I'm not good with topic lists. I need to find video games to talk about that.
It's fine. We can talk about video games. I've been playing video games for 25 years now, so I have a large backlog of things to ramble about.
just find like 2 or 3 topics, and tomorrow we'll actually record a real podcast and see if someone else can hop in. Maybe, I don't know. Probably not, because I don't know anyone. I don't have social skills. If I did, I'd probably be in some cool creature hub team. I'd be like, oh man, I'd be rubbing elbows with everyone, and my elbows would get all. Actually, I was already have like a big patch of skin, but I'd be rubbing more elbow and having more skin.
Sure, I suppose. I don't really have any plans for tomorrow, so I might as well.
Might do more D&D, depends on how it goes. But I'm running out of space, and I need to remove stuff, and I don't want to bother with all kinds of stupid shit.
That's fine. I'm always happy to hop on D&D.
I enjoyed this. This really cheered me up, by the way.
Conversation always does that. Especially if it's just, talking about something. Just chill stuff.
Hearing you ramble about stuff.
I can ramble on stuff for hours.
It's great.
I live alone, despite the fact that I live with several people. I technically live alone because they are not here on the weekends usually, and they're not here during most of the day.
Heck.
Yeah, basically I see my own family for half an hour every day, and sometimes it's way too much, honestly.
I could say the same.
I stay alone a lot, and I talk to myself a lot. I have a personal imaginary audience that I talk to.
Same! I have the same thing. If I recorded half the shit I've said, I would have had at least, like, an hour of good content. God, you should have some...
That's a little bit too self-deprecating. That's my
Nah,
job.
there's some pretty good stuff. I usually, like, I don't know. Like, I have some weird... Let me just... Give me a second. Okay, now we got some space. So, because I like to contextualize things a lot, I do love how people can see that my current Discord handle is reading digital graves, which helps contextualize some of the stuff we talk about. But
this is a very poetic, I would say. This is a very neat name because, well, yeah, that's what you've been doing.
I'm very upset that Xyla hasn't shown up. Like, Xyla normally shows when she's like, oh, my VPN doesn't work. I'm like, God damn it, man. Every single day, this whole China thing is like not working out for you. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, Xyla used
she
to.
did it so that you could get a job here because apparently it's a prestigious organization that's going to help me.
And it's not working out.
Ugh, it's a mess. First few days were terrible, but like I talk a lot about stuff. I tend to think things through. Like I just talk to myself about like really everything. I sometimes like to imagine myself on shows. And be like, this is what I'm going to say, and this is how it's going to go. And it's also on my ability to do voices is very good, because when you talk to yourself and you try to do the voices of the people that you're trying to imitate, you get good at it. You have some measure of quality. Ugh.
That's accurate enough.
I've been playing for over an hour. Don't forget to take a break. I don't think that's technically true, but sure. Oh, wait,
Usually I just go over the same topics in my head until I create a sort of kinda a document in my own head. The first draft, the edition, the second edition, the third edition, amendments and all that.
I think
I basically create an entire text document in my head of a fake conversation I will probably never have. I also absolutely love, or at least my brain loves, to come back to discussions that were like a year ago or even more, and argue with the same person. Oh my god, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. I'll just shut up for
if we're gonna you know what, I already got a topic for the podcast, and that's just me bitching for hours about like how modern D&D is evolving, like how it's slowly becoming this fancy glossed environment that's sort of losing the beauty of what it was supposed to be. And now people are like, hey, we want to have D&D in space and steampunk. I'm like, you do know that D&D is not meant for that, right? Like, I raise my brow a bit and I look down and I'm like, hey, you do know D&D was like specifically meant for medieval times, right? You do know it wasn't designed to work in those settings, right? Wiggle my eyebrows a whole bunch.
Yeah, but they did use D&D 3.5 edition to create the Star Wars one.
That was called the D20 system, and the idea was that they made an agnostic system you could base it off of. Which, fair enough, they made a pretty good system to the point that I'm like, Pathfinder 2 is just not going to appeal to me. I just look at him like you're trying to do what 5e did and you're trying to polish it up, but you know, here's the main thing I said to myself like every time I went over this in my head. People don't play 5e because they want to play D&D. They play because they want to be like I play D&D. They never fucking play D&D to the rule, and to me it's like I do the same thing, but you got to stop pretending D&D 5e is a good edition. You're just playing it because it's an edition, doesn't give a shit. It's a diarrhea edition. You can just go straight through it and not care. Ugh. Everyone's like, oh,
Out
it's
of
a great
all the
edition.
editions that I've tried, the Star Wars one and the first Pathfinder are my favorites.
That's my thing. Is like people don't like 5e for any of the mechanical stuff. They never say. You know what I really like about 5e is the advantage system. When they say that the isolating concepts are well compared to the modifiers in 3.5, they never go. It's a good system. I'll give it that. I also think it's very sad that it's also the system that said we're going to do weird modifiers, even though it's the system best for it. But very few people actually play 5e because they want to play 5e specifically. Because the amount of times people just don't care about the actual rules is. To me, it's like I'm starting to feel that people are just playing the games because they want to have they want to go to a club and go like I played this game, I played this cool game, and you know it's like it's the brand that sells it instead of people play Magic because they want to play fucking Magic because they want to have the cool cards, they want to make these cool combos, but people play D&D because they want to be like I play D&D for the bragging rights, and because and like I said, it's a diarrhea game. It comes out easy, and you can stick your hand straight through it. There's no fuss, no fuss. It's all easy. Just check some boxes and you're done. I need to save my breath because otherwise we'll have nothing to say tomorrow. Also, I talk too fast. I don't know this. I talk too fast, apparently. I don't know why. I guess I just have a fast brain, or I just never learned to talk slowly.
People keep complaining that I talk fast as well. It seems to be a common thing with non-native English speakers.
Could be. Be something. It's like the way of the future they're going to tell us, like computer measures your words per minute. He's like, oh, you're just over the national average, and just waggles his finger, going, no, no, no. We should cut this off here. We're pushing like 51 minutes, and more than half of this video has not been about the topic I wanted to talk about, which is me looking at someone's profile of someone who's dead and be like, man, I'm super sad about this, but also kind of stoked.
Yep. Well, we did talk a little bit about it. I mean, we can continue that, but this is not exactly a goth kind of podcast.
No, man.
But yeah, let's take this kind of things in moderation because the whole poking around death and whatnot is not probably a very cheerful topic.
It's not.
Yeah.
But it's a strange thing as I look at all these messages of like, I'm gonna miss you
Yeah.
and I love you and we're gonna see each other later. It's like
I know
something about that. It's weird.
Yes, it's. Well, at the very least, it's if it's not a good way to die, at the very least, it's a reasonable way to die, and honestly, I'd like to hope that one day I might be able to say that, but I don't really hold my hopes up because this is not the thing that I'm looking for. I tried to get into the whole, liking or loving someone, and it just didn't work out for me, and. It has left a wake of broken hearts. Honestly,
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I still gotta say this though, that I do still am like I want to watch the co-optional podcast because it's apparently such a big phenomenon that I just kind of glossed over, and I feel bad, and I feel like I shouldn't warn him without it, like I mentioned in the other video.
I tried getting it into it, but They talked a lot about topics that I had no interest in, so I just kind of zoned out, and then I said, why am I even listening to this if I'm not even focusing on it? They're not talking about things that I was interested in or enjoyed, and I just kind of stopped. Same with the videos. I've watched a lot of Total Biscuits videos on the video games that I was interested in, and I just skipped everything that I wasn't.
I didn't say this in the other video, but I just want to say for everyone, I've had Moonlight Sonata playing in my head, the first part, like not the part where it goes crazy, stuck in my head for at least a fucking week, and it's starting to annoy me.
I know. You, if you have an earwig kind of song stuck in your head, you should probably replace it with a different song. It's unfortunately a very common phenomenon, and people have been trying to find a solution to fix it, but to no avail.
But it's
You
such
need
a
to kick
dour
out
time.
your you need to kick out your song with another song. For some reason, whenever I got in the past low blood sugar from not eating properly, like skipping meals or not eating for a couple days, I used to get that stuff stuck in my head. It's like a song on a loop. I wake up with it, I go to bed with it, and I can't do anything about it. Once I resumed eating properly, it would just go away.
Fair enough. Well, you know what? I think the thing that I have in my head that I really hate is I want to go and stream on Twitch, because streaming on Twitch is like the big hip thing to do, and there's more people watching there. But at the same time, I'm like, if I go to Twitch, I'm gonna have to delay my videos by like 24 hours. I'm like, I don't want to do that. It sounds late.
Why would you need to delay them by 24 hours?
I think Twitch has this policy in place where you have to delay your VODs by 24 hours because they're like, we don't want direct competition with ourselves like that.
That doesn't really matter because you can have a restreamer thing that will upload your videos to both Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, whatever you freaking want. A person I know, Biscuit Basher, does that. He streams on Twitch and YouTube at the same time. He used to have, it's a very telling name. I can see that you like the name. He actually went to his backyard and used a sledgehammer to smash a bunch of biscuits, and then he used to have like 100 different biscuit smashing videos for every single one of his videos. Like he had an intro, a custom one, and a different one for every video that he had. He stopped doing that. I asked him about it, and he said, "Well, he's gonna invite his fellow over, and they're gonna smash some biscuits again."
Yay! The biscuit story.
Yeah.
Monument of the ages.
Monument of the ages. Can you imagine this is the only thing that is left after you're gone? A video of you smashing.
Oh, biscuits.
A biscuit.
I mean, there's worse things to be remembered for.
I suppose so.
I mean, there's a bunch of celebrities right now in compromising situations who might be remembered for things that aren't that good. Although it's not going to happen, because we all know that at the end people are going to be like, well, it wasn't so bad, because it's all out of the memory. Ugh.
Well, I was hoping this is what's going to happen with Total Biscuit, but it wasn't, because a whole bunch of people crawled out of the woodwork and decided to gloat about his death.
Decided to dance on his grave, although he's technically cremated, so there's no grave to speak of, but...
To dance on the urn.
They pissed in his StarCraft cup. If you can't dance or shit on their grave, at least you can piss in the cup.
If there is a God, they will get their own punishment for that.
If there is a God, he will send me someone who knows how to do podcasts properly and will help me with the editing.
I don't think God works like that.
Come on, God! Shoot me some contact lists, will you?
Well, someone I know, I talked with someone I know about like the whole God thing, and they told me that the God that we're being taught about usually is kind of like the vending machine God that you're supposed to deposit prayers into, and you get good stuff in return. Mm-hmm. But this is obviously not the case.
I like to think that God is just someone who takes credit for shit that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, it's like that little caricature for a surgeon. There is a surgeon operating on a dude, right? Mm-hmm. And there's Jesus standing behind him, and Jesus is telling him, if he recovers, it's because God helped him, but if he dies, it's your fault.
I more like the idea of something good happens and then God just sort of walks into the room and goes, "Oh man, look at what I did today." And the scientists are just standing there with the cure for cancer, and he's like, "Oh, look at all this stuff I just invented."
That would be neat if that happened, but there's very unlikely that there's some old guy sitting in the cloud and spying on every young boy and girl touching themselves at night.
New alert.
You know,
Gets
this
old
is just
fast.
unrealistic. Yeah, that's just unrealistic. It's like, it's the same thing with Santa Claus. You know, every time when Santa Claus leaves in all those movies, right? He doesn't go to the next house. He like fucks off to a house 100 miles away.
No, you're. He always flies into the sunset, even though he's not done yet.
Yes. This is the silly stuff. It's the same way here. If there is a god, and there probably is a god, it's more of a sort of like cosmic phenomenon or something, you know.
No,
It-
no, it's
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 an
gonna be
abstract
be
thing.
just a dude who evolved to that point. He's just like, well, I got here, and I guess I'm here, and just kind of shrugs.
Well, maybe, but it's weird to think about, honestly. It all is weird to think about it. We have no proof of it either way, but probably everybody has a probably if the god exists, it's probably not the guy in the cloud, it's probably some sort of cosmic entity.
It's gotta be like
And
Cthulhu.
maybe Cthulhu
Well, actually,
isn't really a god in the same
Yeah.
sense.
he's
It's
he's actually an emissary. A
he's
lot
a
of people
thing.
get this wrong. He's not an elder god, which is
He's
the,
a he's a physical thing that exists.
yes.
He's not a concept. He's not something. He's not something that we invented to feel better about ourselves.
I'm kind of sad that that period of time where that kind of magic existed was so brief, but that's science for you.
Probably. I mean, churches all over the world have special groups dedicated to explaining new scientific phenomenon that was previously attributed to some kind of divine intervention.
Yep. Well, you'll go pick a couple of topics out of your old hat. I'm gonna call this a podcast because it's been going on for an hour by now.
Yep.
And I say this is the tipping point. This is the premiere episode of the TTO podcast. Fucking sucks. It's gonna be the running gag. I'm inventing it right here, right now. And if people disagree, I'm gonna hit them with a newspaper. Great. Now I gotta get a digital newspaper. It's gonna be all we have left once the Euro pushes their fucking censor machine through. So
What a good way to start. What a good time point to start the podcast, right?
I think
We're 2 days from complete closure. Tune in tomorrow.
18 days, but yes.
Well,
I
18.
think the biggest thing that stands in the way of the law is that no one wants to implement it or that it's not even viable. Because again, it's one of those magic paper solutions that looks good on paper, but good luck rubbing it off on a computer.
Yeah.
How the fuck are you going to perform deep packet inspections on everything that goes across the internet?
Is the stream over, by
Like,
the way?
people are going to invent something that circumvents it in, like, the day it launches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how are they going to enforce it?
I don't think, like I said this before, but, like, your neighborhood fucking cop isn't going to do it. They're not going to give a shit.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not that big, but you know, if I was, I would probably say, you know, who's going to enforce it? The cops watch my stuff in the first place. They don't want to cancel their favorite show. Is the thing over, by the way?
No, I'm going to call it off in a second.
All
Say
right.
goodbye, Komo. I want people to say goodbye before we cut it off.
Yeah.
If we want to
Thanks
be a
for
good
tuning in.
podcast, though, we're going to need to stream for at least an hour, Como. We have time schedules to meet, and I'm just going to tap my watch and be like, Como, we have to keep the hour.
Well, I can't promise to be here for an hour every day or every Sunday. Once a week is fine, I suppose.
Once a week we can do.
Yeah, and maybe, you know, if I have the time, if I'm not running any errands or helping family members, I can probably hop on during the weekdays as well.
We'll do other stuff during the weekdays.
Sure. Thanks
hope
for
this-
tuning in. I hope none of the topics offended you too badly. Hope
If
you
they
learned
did, we're
if you
sorry.
knew things. I'm not sorry. No, I'm not going to apologize. If somebody, I mean, look, I just offered my opinion. I'm not trying to force it on somebody. I have said I am biased. Here's what I think. If you disagree with it, cool. If you're going to be acting like an asshole about it, go fuck yourself.
It's a
But-
fair enough opinion.
Yeah, thanks for listening for the whole thing, I suppose. And
Let's see
subscribe
if we can
to
make this a
Sci-Fi.
thing.
I guess.
Yeah. I feel I probably should include your YouTube information in the description as well if you want, but you'd have to give it to me first.
Sure.
In like
I
a
don't
Discord,
mind.
so that I can put it in the bottom and be like, hey, listen, this is the other person who's also in the show. You can subscribe to them too. I love it when they do that, and it's like the person involved is like, I have one video and I made it like 8 years ago, and it's like, why did you put it there then? Not making anything. Ugh.
Sure, I can give you my a link to my YouTube channel. I haven't really put up anything for the past 1.5 years, really, maybe even 2 years. Mostly because I've been working in a company that basically said, you know, everything you upload from this point onward is going to have to go through us, and I've been buried to my nostrils in actual work.
You've been working again.
No, not yet. I've had a couple odd jobs here and there, but
Oh.
nothing stable. After I got laid off last year, I haven't really found any stable employment yet. But this June, maybe July, there might be an opportunity for me to actually get something that not necessarily going to pay well, but it's going to cover my expenses and it's going to support my hobbies and it's going to be just stable income. And I'll be doing something I enjoy doing, that I'm motivated to be doing, and I actually have the skill to do. So it's like, sort of kind of dream job, I suppose. Plus it's going to be remote, so my knees are not going to explode.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.